I think I have found a neutral position in order to arrive to an outcome. Whatever you see here on my chest, mind you, that's an outcome of thought. The position is a whole other story, and I will try my best to articulate it properly, to tell you what it is, why do I trust it, how to get there, and then I'll try to break down certain other aspects because they are important, they have to be mentioned as well. I've been writing for a while, and don't worry, I have nothing to sell to you. I will give whatever I have finished. Whenever that happens, I'll give it away for free. I'll make a PDF and give it away for free. And I've been writing it for like 14 months, and it's been kind of wild and incredible, long past due, but here I am. This book, it involves a search for what I happen to call truths of life, like real objective truths, because I know I said this early, but they are real. I'll explain in other videos. For a moment, let's stick to the neutral position. So I call this neutral position because I found it. I feel like this it's a discovery. So I called it the absolute 0 point for knowledge and wisdom. It says the following. I say the following. Never care how the truths look like because you only care to find them. Truth will either seem hidden or reveal itself by extreme force, but only to the fools, the stubborn, the undecided, and the proud. And I start to break down the first sentence, and I start with because you only care to find them, and then I refer to the other thing, never care how truth looks like. So I go in depth in what I'm saying. I'm not just throwing things out to you. This is the neutral position. Not being interested, not having essentially a bias to be interested to search a certain claim because you already wish for that thing to be truth. I think we all know what I'm talking about. So to tell you how to get there will be faster, so I'll start with this. In essence, you have to become really humble. But what I tend to notice, people will not agree to become humble on their own. The only option left is basically life. Life has to humble you. It may sound trivial and kind of cliche, but it is required. Here's the thing for me. An event, an extreme amount of suffering, getting humbled, getting healed, seeking discernment, seeking proper tools, questions to ask, whatever. First step will be to not care what the truth looks like. That's the main thing. You will find truth, but then you'll have to harden the truth. You'll have to be really strict and severe in your discernment, in your questions. You have to really question your questions at some point. Wisdom isn't born into you right away. I don't know, it's quite weird when you see someone suffer so much, how they change, and when they are not angry but humbled, they seem to have this sort of purity in them, this sort of childlike soul, an intense and profound sense of gratitude. And what I tend to notice is this suffering has kind of purified them in a weird way. Everything negative about the ego gets purged. Is that how you say it? Gets purged. It burns in flames. It's painful because it's losing a really stubborn part of you. Something in you really metaphorically dies in that moment. So it's kind of interesting when you see that. And I'm a testimony to that, meaning my suffering was loneliness. Getting healed after getting humbled is a requirement. It has to happen. It's the same. You say don't make decisions when you're angry. Basically the same thing. So I suppose it's common sense. So when you get healed and you develop this hunger for truth, a desire to find truth, at this moment wisdom, knowledge is not just born in you. There are a lot of things that are involved, like you really have to question your questions, even in the dilemma of searching God. And whatever God that would be, you have to question your questions. You have to go through a series of thinking exercise, to critical thinking, to learning a lot of terms, if that's the truth that you seek. Other people will look at the truth of, I don't know, becoming a really great doctor, or becoming a really great actor, or becoming a really great musician, artist, YouTube personality. Is just you don't care for anything else but for the truth, because it's a thing that has become personal to you. Essentially, you get to seek the proper tools, because the essence is you really care to find truth. Especially now that you're humbled, you don't mind being really strict with you, like realizing, oh, that was really stupid of me. How can I correct this about me? How can I ask better questions? What are those better questions? You ask all sorts of questions about the questions alone. In the idea of finding truth is actually just finding the questions. At least for me, I cannot see it ever again being any other way. And now let me get to the why do I trust this position? This is a really particular position to be in, a unique one. Even in theory, it has to be unique, this neutral position. You have a bias. You start thinking about the truth with a bias. The brain has these patterns, will seek whatever you desire to seek to be truth, so you don't know what actually is true. And I get that. But do you get what I will say right now? Because of my suffering, which was loneliness, which I will talk in future videos, people used suffering to prop a certain agenda, and I hated that. You have religious people who tell you, like, come close to God, like, in this life you will suffer, but God will give you peace, come close to God. But then you have atheists who say, no, because they're suffering, there's no God. Trust this, trust what I say. Then you have, capitalism, good. It reduced a lot of suffering, good. Communism, yeah, no, that's good, because we want to give to a lot of people. We are so good. No suffering, please, no suffering. So everybody is kind of using this abstract thing to push their values, to push their agendas. But I'm a man. I'm left here alone. I cannot help how bad I feel. And these motherfuckers trying to use suffering for whatever they have in mind. I honestly hate every one of them equally. I don't care. And even though you may say, Alex, which is my name, this sounds emotional. This is emotional. What the heck? Is not logical. Well, au contraire, there is logic in emotions. People might forget that nowadays, because certain part of the culture nowadays says that being emotional means you are irrational or illogical or whatever. No, remind yourself of the fact that whenever something awful, some tragedy happens, you are sad. It's expected for you to feel something. Some event happen which dictates in logical manner the definition of the emotion you feel. If someone dies and this is awful and tragic for you, you'll feel sad. It's logical. When I don't want to digress that much, but throw away just for a moment the psychopaths and the sociopaths. It's whatever. It's natural. It's expected. It's understandable. Whatever the case may be, whatever words you may use, it's also logical to happen. It's like, I hate anyone and everyone because they use suffering to prop up their agenda. Therefore, I'm in a position that I hate, and mind you cannot measure that for me. Only I know how I measure it, because it's really subjective. I was truly disgusted about everything and everyone and every concept, and I didn't care if God didn't exist, and I didn't care if God existed. I didn't care about that political aisle, and I didn't care about that political aisle. I truly was indifferent and disgusted and I had a lot of hatred towards people, towards everyone in general. It did not matter. When you are lonely, you want to feel something else, and the next thing is hate. Therefore, no matter what was the person and what were their views, I didn't care, because I hated anyone equally. I just simply didn't care. And this is the way I try to explain that, because I despise everyone equally, I was in a neutral position and I wanted to search for truth, because I told to myself, like, someone here is really lying. Like, these opinions are like 180 degrees apart, the opposite in any direction. Capitalism, communism, religion, atheist. What is this? Someone here is lying. I don't care. I want to find out what is true. And mind you, again, even if you look at this outcome, do your own thing, do your own research, think, question me, ask me a lot based on what I'm saying in this video, in the next. I want to have a really open discussion, and I may get a bit fired up here and there because of my personality, and this is also personal stuff, but I'm really passionate about it. So I have all the interest in the world to talk respectfully to anyone who is willing to listen. So essentially, this is why I trust that position. I trust it because there is emotion in logic, and because I was indifferent, let's say it like that, about everyone. I just wanted to find truth. Therefore, my journey began, and from that point forward, yes, I have arrived to an outcome, but to clarify things for you, I have been raised in a Christian family, but my parents were not that religious. We were going to the church only on Easter for the birth of Christ, and that was it basically. They never read the Bible in front of me. They never gave me any Bible to read, but I became an atheist like in the 6th grade, because I was a kid, but I became a really hardcore atheist, as one does, of course. For 10 years I was a really hardcore mad at God atheist, and then certain things transpired, and then I became kind of agnostic, and like last year I've become a Christian, and like declare on my lips and in my heart with open heart, like Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He raised in the third day. But anyway, I'm just trying to say my history here. Who is the person you're talking to? I was never a Christian for most of my life and my adult life. There you have it. And the position I was in was before I have become a Christian. Long before I have become a Christian. The next thing that I focused on is how to measure the abstract. This is a tough one to crack. I will explain more in future videos, but another thing that I have to add is the depth to which your own responsibility goes, which, long story short, it's at least the same, if not even greater, as the sum of all implications that your worldview has. This is a funny thought I had recently. My most recent thought is the depth to which our responsibility goes. We are responsible. After 14 months of writing, I have realized something in the way I was pursuing truth, finding it. We are responsible of any truth claims, any statements that we hear, meaning it's everything that follows after hearing any of those. Because when acted upon, those statements have certain implications as well. It's in everything that follows. It's in any degree of interest, search, pondering, critical of self, is in any tools of measuring properly the abstract, these definitions, these concepts. It's in any questions that is asked, and it's either an unconscious bias or not reasonable or indulges the ego. And again, continuing with the depth of our responsibility. I say reasonable. You'll hear me a lot saying the word reasonable. True wisdom is found in desiring to only want the truth, whatever that looks like is not important, in knowing how to measure the abstract, since being reasonable seems like a long lost art sometimes. Common sense, basically. What is that? It should be common. Consequently, in essence, the truth can never offend. Only injustices do, and a corrupted sense of justice will make the truth seem offensive. Things can never be put more plainly by me than this. I simply cannot. I'm just a baby. In philosophy, I'm just a baby. I've just started last year. I don't know. I'm still thinking about a lot of stuff. I'm flexible if proper articulated arguments are presented. I don't mind. There's a thing that I've noticed in this search of truth, and I was forced by the nature of the search of the words, the abstract I was forced to explain how to search for truth using abstract words. For example, I used words as selfless, as volition. This is the cause that begins such a profound search, and the proper manner to execute it must be exclusively in a selfless way and according to one's volition. Let me give you another example. Being selfless, the first condition is a separation from certain parts that constitute the self. Value. People dedicate their time and energy to actions they've assigned value to, meaning a grand level of importance when compared to the rest of pursuits. It can be in any other way, considering that those two currencies are as valuable as the desire itself, making it a fair exchange. For instance, other words, I've used hunger, I've used hunger to search, I've used openness and impartiality. Humbleness. This humbleness that I attempt to articulate is a benevolence. It implies immense levels of openness and impartiality to whatever might be at the end. I'd argue that it comes, not in a subtle way, in the form of a mindset without any sort of captivity of the mind, of the ego, and their behavioral patterns. To clarify, a self-imposed prison is not the same as humans' limitation for perceiving reality. Knowing where your intellectual limits lie and the reasons to be so is wiser than insisting to know how to surpass them. Even that one is a mystical one to begin so, since it requires future revelations to future individuals. Therefore, one must move like a mouse along those borders, for the purpose is to train next generation, not to confuse them. Whatever, you read it in context when time will come, but I've used openness and impartiality, and I think I have a few other words, and humbleness, of course, another one. Also, stubbornness is another one. Like, stubbornness is the mischievous brother of skepticism, I said here. So I try to tell you to lay down these abstract words in my way, my process of explaining how to find truth. Basically, the question, how do you worship truth? It's a good question. The concept of truth at this moment. I will not talk about religion. It sounds poetic, that's why I want to say it like this. This is kind of the last truth of life in the first subchapter, the truth of life number 3. If this pure fidelity, meaning regarding both what is objective truth and how to find it, is explained to abstract language, measurement, and deeds, then it means that the whole nature of truth is abstract as well, not solely a physical one. Therefore, a source of expressing the physical into existence is always physical, while the source for the abstract, when brought into existence through the physical, is also abstract. With time, I suppose all of this will become more clearer. Try to think and to ask me anything. You'll help me with the book as well. It might be the fact that you hear something, some inconsistency, something, whatever, in what I say that I haven't noticed, because this is what wise people do. Wise people never argue to to be right. I want to be above you in some way. No, wise people think, so you have this statement, this truth claim here. Okay, I will put myself in the position to oppose this truth claim, and I'll ask questions from different perspectives. I don't care to be right. We have to harden this truth that you're saying. The statement that you're claiming is true. We have to harden it. And because I care to see if it's true, I will seek not that my questions are unreasonable, biased, loaded, illogical fallacies in them. I don't care. It's just because this is the way I've asked questions. Now I say I have found it. People will not agree. That's why I try to take my time and explain. And this is why I say, give me questions, ask me, make me think. I mentioned another truth of life, which at the moment it seems to be number 2. Knowledge has forever authority over choice, for choice is the ultimate power that it beholds. For enough of knowledge shall grant absolute freedom, while corrupting it brings only agony and demise. Not all are born the same, not all will show a full commitment to the completion of such hard tasks. They will be unable to submit to an untamed way of finishing the quest, letting their limited and flawed nature influence the process. This thing here, I think it's an amazing discovery. The thing I've said there, knowledge has forever authority over choice. And I think it helps anyone understand how not everything in this world will be deterministic. Not all the time. And when I say a choice, I meant volition, I meant a conscious choice. That's why I never used the word freedom of choice, but I use a conscious choice. But then you have a question like, where do you draw the line precisely when you talk about a conscious choice and a free choice? Where do you draw the line? What exactly makes a conscious choice a free choice, or are they forever different, not the same? Because I have a real intuition about this, and a weird one. Like, consciousness is the thing that creates freedom in the freedom of choice. Knowledge has forever authority over choice because, for instance, when you live in a certain environment, a toxic one, awful parents, let's say, and you become aware because more knowledge is presented to you, like, look, this is not how parents should act like. This is not how love is. A father would not do that to you. A mother would not do that to you. You are able to change that. You don't have to be like your father, like your mother. These pieces of information, this knowledge, this explanation, these details that were unknown to you, but you encountered them, it might give you the choice, because you realize this doesn't have to be permanent. Like, I can change my situation. Like, okay, it's awfully hard, it's unfair if you want to say it, but essentially you may have a choice at the end of the day to never repeat such cycle. You know, I think kids with awful parents that are now adults will know perfectly well what I mentioned. Also, I am a testimonial as well, like my father, not that great of a father. Not everything can be deterministic. Therefore, that worldview, that falls completely. Like, I understand we have a subconsciousness which has reactions, instincts. You know, we may be also manipulated by marketing teams and whatever, other things. I would say some of us, when we know that we can be manipulated in some way, we are like that, become aware, we may be making a certain decision, a certain choice, like staying away from X, or yeah, now I see it, so because I see it and it's kind of dirty, I don't want it. It changes the paradigm.
You get me? You do get me. It's of paramount importance that you get me. You get me?
How to measure the abstract is the thing that I wanted to go in depth in the next video, but I think I have to leave you with something, which is the truth of life number 5. Mambo number 5. The only way through which we can measure reality thus objectively define it, is by having the awareness of the impacts that anything has on the material world, their proportion, and the way they've emerged into existence. Unfortunately, we are limited only to those impacts that can make us aware of their existence in the first place. The rest that could grant us full comprehension is yet to be found, making of that very moment a miracle of revelation. Example. There is a big trio that kind of holds the universe together. Is the laws of physics, the mathematical truths, the laws of logic, and as far as I'm concerned, those were long before a mind was here to observe them. They are here, and scientists use them to say things about the past and say things about the present, and who knows, maybe say things about the future, because they are using physics to see if a meteor will strike us or whatever. And I think it's fair to say they will still exist in the universe if somehow humans will be wiped out at the end of this very sentence. It seems like common sense to ask scientists, well, if you claim otherwise, how are you confident to use the laws of physics to say things about the past, or because they're using to search in the universe, they are measuring lights and whatever. It seems rather inconsistent. Anyways, I digress. I say these are objective truths, and they are really abstract. So you already have 3 objective truths, big ones, have created an impact in the universe, because they are holding the universe together, right? And amazing, we have noticed the physical impact of them, and that's why it's really hard for science to understand physics and to come to a resolution to whatever equation of everything they want to find, because it's really abstract shit and it's mathematic. At least when getting slaughtered in mathematics, whatever, but we get slaughtered in mathematics. So I try to point out that we have these 3 big impacts in the universe, and they are physical, and there are other impacts in the universe, smaller, from abstract things. I can understand this microphone has molecules, can be put under a microscope. The abstract is the unseen and untouched, basically. Therefore, if those things are ruling the universe and they are abstract and objective, outside of our minds, I think it's fair to say microphones are molecules, they have a physical impact, and it's easier for that impact to be measured because there's matter, energy, atoms, whatever in this microphone. But in those things, those cannot be put under a microscope. And because these 3 are real and objective and abstract, I have confidence to say, well, love, good, evil, loyalty, beauty, you have those 3. Like, why is anyone making the argument you cannot have the other ones? Because they manifest as well through physical things, through actions, like these physical impacts. The way we prove love is through actions. We do something, we change something in the universe to prove love. Loyalty, again, we do something physical in the universe to prove the existence of something that abstract. Good, evil, no matter how twisted we got it lately, but again, to prove any either one of them, we act, therefore we have an impact in the universe to prove those existence. So basically, this is the long story short. I'll try to go in more depth in the next video, but anyway, let me know, ask.